All right, thanks for coming tonight. Tonight's 6th Avenue East, our 4th engagement event, second public meeting, but we did 2 Hillside Night Out events as well. And we have taken all the comments that we've been hearing over the last year and a half, and we've come up with a final design that we're proposing and we're going to go over tonight for what we're going to build this summer. So my name is James Gittemeyer. I'm Senior Transportation Planner with the City of Duluth. Alex Popp is the project engineer, and he'll give the presentation and go over the details of this project that will be taking place this summer. And then at all of your tables, you do have comment forms. I was just hearing some comments and concerns, and so please write those down. We take all of these into consideration as we do this project, and particularly as part of our post-evaluation when the project's complete, we'll be evaluating the project to see how it is working, see what maybe we need to tweak, all of those sorts of things. As I should mention, this project is basically a 10-year fix for 6th Avenue East for us to try some things to improve pedestrian safety, to improve the surface. Obviously, we all feel the surface when you're driving on it, so we need to do something to improve the surface. But really to look at this pedestrian safety. But these pedestrian safety improvements also provide safety improvements for every user of the roadway, including motorists. And so we're doing this project to help us understand how this works before we have to do a full reconstruction, which will be, we'll have to do some more planning work and evaluation work. The plan would be that around 10 years from now that would lead us into a full reconstruction. So we wanted to get this down and on the ground to really understand it before we actually do that work. And it needs a resurface. So it's definitely time for some work. With that, I'll turn it over to Alex to give the presentation. And then I just want to mention that there are snacks up here and the layout of the street is over here, and we'll stay around after this meeting to talk and discuss the project. So with that, I'll turn it over to Alex.
All right. Thank you all for coming. This is quite the turnout. As James was saying, we're here to discuss the 6th Avenue East overlay and the roadway reconfiguration project. The project's going to consist of an overlay from East 2nd Street to Mesaba Avenue. Technically, 6th Avenue East changes the central entrance at 9th Street, as we all know, but we're going to continue all the way up to Mesaba Avenue. As part of that, we're also going to be doing ADA compliant curb ramps and spot sidewalk replacements out there where the existing sidewalk is failing. As part of that overlay, we're going to reconfigure the street from a 4-lane to a 3-lane roadway, along with some other safety improvements. One addition to the project lately is we're also going to be doing lead service line replacements for houses served off of 6th Avenue East. As James kind of alluded, there have been several engagements for this, including a public meeting that some of you may have been at in October of 2023. And primarily what we heard at that meeting was a lot of concerns about traffic congestion and diversion, both during and after the construction, traffic speeds, as well as safety in relation to those traffic speeds, looking for some signal improvements at 9th Street, and pedestrian safety improvements. I was also concerned to make sure everything was being coordinated with the DTA, as well as police and the fire departments. So taking some of those considerations, taking some of that feedback into consideration, and using the opportunity provided by the addition of the lead service line replacements in the project, we delayed the project about a year in order to get those lead services into it, and using that in order to avoid additional closures and keep them from tearing up recently redeveloped roads. By using that time, we've changed the plans to add an additional center median running for length of the project, as well as improved pedestrian crossing areas. And we've made an update to the lane configuration that was presented last time to have 2 lanes going up the hill after 8th Street with no weaving at all. However, with that, we're no longer able to fit a bike lane into the existing roadway. So as everybody's aware, there's quite a few challenges with the existing roadway. One of the big ones is pedestrian accessibility. The school district discourages walking to Myers-Wilkins Elementary, which is only a 1/5 of a mile from the road. And in normal conditions, the school district would like to have wouldn't bus students that live within 7/10 of a mile of an elementary school, but due to their unwillingness to have students crossing 6th Avenue East as well as 9th Street, more than 90% of the students at Myers-Wilkins need to be bused, which is a substantial cost for the school district, and it also incurs a lot of costs for the after-school programming that needs to transport those students. In addition to that, 20% of pedestrian deaths in Duluth in the last decade were on 6th Avenue East, and also the higher crash rate on that street, so it's not just pedestrians, motorists are also seeing safety issues with the roadway. Grand Avenue has almost 1,000 more cars per day than 6th Avenue East, but it has 30% fewer crashes. So looking at what a roadway reconfiguration is, it's generally a change in the pavement markings to realign it with serving all road users. A typical design, shown on the left there, would remove one through lane in each direction and change it into a center turn lane. That additional space on the road could then be used for, in this instance, buses, and in this project's case, a wider shoulder area. A 3-lane, which would be 2 through lanes and a left turn lane road, can effectively carry traffic volumes of up to 18,000 cars per day, according to Federal Highways research. And 6th Avenue East currently serves about 13,000 cars a day. 21st Avenue East from London Road to Woodland Avenue, which is a very similar configuration, currently serves almost 15,000 cars per day. Coming with that roadway reconfiguration, they're reducing those through lanes can calm traffic. It reduces weaving, reduces the number of lanes for pedestrians to cross, and it reduces left turn conflicts. Shown on the image on the left from Federal Highway, showing all the various maneuvers that you can make on a 4-lane road and the various conflict points that causes. And on the right side of that image is how much simpler the driving experience is and how that reduces the conflicts that you experience. The 2-way left turn lane also reduces head-on crashes by dividing opposing traffic, and it reduces rear-end crashes by taking that left-turning vehicle out of the through lane. Another frequent cause for crashes, shown on the right, is when left-turning vehicles are unable to see a second car in an outside lane that's shadowed by a closer vehicle, particularly when vehicles are stopped in traffic and somebody goes through a gap and there's a moving car in the other lane. Federal Highway Administration's research has found a 20 to 50% reduction when a previous 4-lane road is reconfigured to a 3-lane road. And they particularly see a reduction in crashes in drivers under 35 due to their inexperience and over 65 due to their slower reaction speed. So looking at 6th Avenue East specifically, over the past 10 years, there were 244 crashes, which are shown as red dots on the map here. And that figure does not include the ones that are shown in Mesaba Avenue. When we mapped it, we included them to make sure we weren't missing any that were slightly mapped improperly in the police's system. I reviewed all the crash reports and classified them as if they would be likely to be prevented by the project, possibly prevented, or if this project would be unlikely to change the outcome of those collisions. And from what I saw, approximately 25% would have been prevented, including one fatal pedestrian crash. An additional 10% would probably have been prevented. Typical crashes that I classified as being likely to be prevented were ones that were rear endings at intersections where vehicles stopped to turn left, as well as head-on collisions when vehicles cross the center line due to failure to maintain their lane, and side swipes due to vehicles stopping or navigating at 2nd Street and 9th Street. A significant majority of the additional crashes, as shown with the gray crash labels, were caused by failing to yield at an intersection, especially at 4th Street and 3rd Street. And unfortunately, this project isn't going to be making significant changes to those. 21st Avenue East, as I had mentioned, has about 14% more daily traffic than 6th Avenue East, but it has 8% fewer crashes. And I think we can agree that's a very similar street with similar high volume crossing traffic and a steep hill. So getting into the proposed layout, starting at the top of the hill. Mesaba Avenue is up on the top, central entrance continues down. The proposed layout is going to look very similar at the intersection in order to match what happens across Mesaba on central entrance. As it comes down the hill, one of those lanes on the downhill side is going to drop away just before the corner in order to maximize the merging distance while allowing for visibility of those merging vehicles instead of creating a safety problem. 2 lanes continue up the hill, the whole length of this stretch, due to that congestion, especially when traffic is backed up at the signal at Mesaba. As we come down the hill, there's a dedicated left turn lane for the uphill traffic on 4th Avenue East. And that space is continuing to be used as a striped median coming around the corner to provide that separation for vehicles and allow a little bit of grace as people are navigating, particularly when it's slippery out. Continuing to come around the corner at 10th Street, dedicated left turn lane for both the uphill and downhill traffic. One of the major changes we're going to make is at 10th Street, removing that free right slip lane, and instead having vehicles navigate the corner as more of a classic 90-degree angle intersection to slow vehicles down as they enter the neighborhood. Sized appropriately, of course, for fire as well as for the larger trucks going to our the print shop there. We also have 2-way left turn lanes to provide access to the neighboring properties as well as to the gas station. At 9th Street, we'll continue to have a long left turn lane, and it'll continue to be a signalized intersection. We're looking at what the existing signals can support. We're also adding a striped island on 9th Street to kind of enhance that visibility that there is only a single lane there, instead of allowing people to kind of sneak by sometimes depending where the car that's turning left is sitting. Below 9th Street, you can start to see the beginning of our center median island, as well as a reduction in the radius on that corner going on to 9th Street, again, to slow turning vehicles. Continuing down the hill, you can see we still have those 2 lanes going up the hill down below 8th Street. That's sized in order to meet the queue or the backup that would be expected at 9th Street from the signals during the heaviest traffic hour. The center median island continues and provides a protected pedestrian crossing at 8th Street. 8th Street is going to be changed into a right-in, right-out intersection, no longer having through traffic or left turns from either 6th Avenue East or 8th Street. Dedicated left turn lanes are put in at 7th Street with the break in median island. And as we continue down the hill, the median restarts above 6th Street. And the same thing as at 8th occurs at 6th, where there's a pedestrian refuge island in the middle, and right in, right out for 6th. Continuing down the hill, the median will stop above 5th Street, which will have a 2-way left turn lane placed in it. And the 2-way left turn lane will continue down the hill to where it becomes a dedicated left for 4th Street to remove those turning vehicles from the through traffic. And as we continue down below 4th Street, we have the left turn lane for the uphill traffic, and then a 2-way left turn lane to access the alley and those parking lots that are there. Coming into 3rd Street, a single through lane and a dedicated right turn lane for the downhill traffic, and a dedicated left and dedicated through lane for the uphill traffic. Again, a small 2-way left turn lane for access to the alley and St. Luke's parking lot, before coming to have a single lane coming up the hill at 2nd Street. So 2nd Street will be changed to have a single left turn lane, a dedicated through lane, and then a through and right serving that access to Essentia, as well as the new extension that goes down to 1st Street. A little bit of discussion on the center median. In 2021, Zeitgeist did a survey and found that 75% of respondents felt that 6th Avenue East is an unwelcoming environment. And the city did a different survey in 2023 and found 96% of respondents wanted safety measures incorporated into the street design. And 70% of those wanted safety measures by way of boulevards and green space. So on the right is an example of a recent project in Superior. Hammond Avenue has recently been reconstructed from a very wide 3-lane road with bike lane and parking to now have a center running median. Similar to this project, a lot of the median is going to be planted. It's going to be low growth stuff, and there are going to be paved stretches in order to maintain visibility for turning vehicles, particularly at 7th Street. But we'll still have that green piece added to the project, as well as the visible reduction in the lanes that occur from that. During the project, what you can expect, the largest, most visible construction is going to be the lead service replacements. That's also going to include some water main extension from 6th Street up through 8th Street. So that's going to be a very visible, very large hole as they replace those lead services for the houses on that stretch. After that's complete, we're going to be doing those curb and gutter replacements, both the spot ones where there's poorly performing ones, as well as the replacements to improve ADA accessibility. And then after everything's been constructed, we'll have some classic asphalt paving. All of that will come with some traffic impacts. They will be very visible with how busy that road is. The orangish color, changed a little bit from my PowerPoint, is the work zone. Most of that work will be conducted under lane closures. We'll have outside lanes closed while we're doing sidewalk and curb replacements, as well as the initial paving, and then it'll flip traffic so that they can pave the inside. The red sections are where there's going to be full closures. 4th Avenue East will have a closure while the entrance is redone. 10th Street while that entrance is done, and possible lead services across it. And then 6th Avenue East from 5th Street to 9th Street will be closed. Planning on approximately 2 months in order to get all the work done, the lead service, median, and the paving. During that project, the detour route will use 9th Street, 10th Avenue East, and 4th Street. And we're going to be working with Essentia to try to encourage their staff that are coming from further up the hill to use alternate routes to hopefully reduce some of that load on 10th Avenue East. Also working with street maintenance to prioritize having all their pothole and patching work done prior to this closure going into effect, because I know 10th Avenue East above 4th Street's slightly rough shape. So with that, the project schedule, as James kind of alluded to, we're working on design now through the spring. We'll bid the project and resurface during the summer. And then from 2026 through at least 2029, we'll be collecting public input on the reconfiguration and starting to look at the future reconstruction design and developing reconstruction plans. Sometime after 2030, the city will be looking at doing a full reconstruction of this corridor again. So thank you all for attending. Thank you for your interest in the project. I'm happy to answer any questions, take any feedback. We're also scheduled to have this meeting go until about 7, so I'm happy to stick around and answer individual questions or look at the layout on that side to look at specific spots.